And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. We've got a new person today. We've got Eva Hallman from the Indie Fuel. Just a couple of reminders before we get started. Please, friends, if you are making a journey to a hockey game with these last couple of weeks, please wait for whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. The bathroom will still be there. The food will still be there. The bad beer will still be there. Just also make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts, however you watch or listen to Krusty Old Guy and I ramble on a weekly basis. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Eva.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
You want to kind of introduce yourself, how you got into this, and your role with Indie?
Yeah, so currently I'm a sophomore at Butler University in Indianapolis, and most currently the digital content intern for the Indie Fuel. And so with that, I do all things social media. So I create a lot of player TikToks. I do a lot of collaboration posts and graphics and game time social media. So I'm like right behind the goal, trying to get the goal to post on social media. But most recently, I have become the first female broadcaster for the Indie Fuel, which has been so exciting. I've been able to do analysis and color commentating with our lovely play-by-play, Andrew Smith. It's just been an incredible experience from that aspect. But also, I am a digital producer and a reporter for a TV station in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I also multimedia editor of my school's newspaper. I'm a tutor at our school's speakers lab. I do just a whole bunch of things, and I wouldn't have it. I do a lot of things, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so happy to be in hockey and be a woman in sports. Like, if you would have told me like 5 years ago, oh, like you're working in sports, I would have been like, me in sports. Like, I quit all of the sports that I was in. Like, I quit volleyball, I quit track. It just wasn't the fit for me, but I love talking like so much. And I always wanted to be, I would say, ever since I joined my school's speech and debate program in high school, I fell in love with broadcasting and radio broadcasting. Then last summer, I worked at a radio station for the first time. It was my first like big girl job, and that was really exciting. They also feed into another ECHL team, which is the Fort Wayne Comets. They do the broadcasting for them. So I was able to shadow their broadcaster, which really made me fall in love with hockey more, because it's just a great sport. And I wasn't too into it in like high school, but then it really ramped up in college. So now I'm here with the Fuel, and I love it so much.
Ooh. I was just gonna ask why, like what got you into hockey more specifically? Was it like, family was already into hockey and it was kind of like the chosen sport in the household? Was it later down the line, crazy friend got you into it? Why hockey?
So my biological father is from Toronto. And so, the Toronto Maple Leafs are right there. And I remember going into like his closet when I was younger, and I just see an array of jerseys. Like, he had a lot of Montreal Canadian jerseys. He had a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs jerseys. He had a Canucks jersey, basically any Canadian team jersey he had. And he had a Blackhawks jersey. Like, it was just, I always saw these jerseys, and they were way too big on me. Like, I would want to, like, we would have jersey day at school, and I'm like, oh, I want to wear one of those jerseys. It would like go down to like my like leg, and I was like, I cannot wear this to school. It's ginormous. But my mom is really into sports. She loves college basketball. She loves football, baseball. I grew up, since I'm in Northeast Indiana, a big Chicago Cubs fan. And then during middle school, when the Blackhawks had their amazing run to the Stanley Cup, I fell in love with hockey a little bit more. It was always on TV a little bit, but I never would pay too much attention to it. I paid attention more in middle school when the Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup. And then into high school, I kind of fell out of it a little bit. My parents got divorced, so I stopped talking to my biological father. So like that riff of like my connection to hockey and him, I didn't want to watch hockey because I would think about like all of that stuff. And then in college, I kind of just like rediscovered hockey and realized that like I don't have to depend or like associate it with anyone. And so I really became like obsessed with hockey. I went to my first NHL game, which was the Maple Leafs versus the Blues. at the Blues, and the Leafs won, and I was going crazy. It was an overtime, and I was surrounded by all these Blues fans, and they're like, "Can you sit down?" And I'm like, "No, this is my
No?
first NHL game. I'm Mitch Marner's there, Austin Matthews is there. I'm going to be screaming. Like, you don't understand. Like, this is for me." And so that was really exciting. My mom and my stepdad and my sister went to that. So it's just like after going to a live NHL game, there's nothing quite like it. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing quite like it. And I've always gone to Fort Wayne Comets games. My mom and my biological father had season tickets when I was younger. So my first game was like 6 months old. So I went to my first hockey game at like 6 months, which is absolutely crazy. And I have these like jerseys, not jerseys, like onesies signed by the current team of when I was born. So the 2004 Fort Wayne Comets, I have all of your signatures on a little onesie. And so that's like really cool. It's like a little fun fact. But then when I came to Indy for Butler, I was like, I need to watch more live hockey. And so then it's like, the Indy Fuel. But I was like, I don't like the Indy Fuel because they're the Fort Wayne's rival. And I was like a diehard Fort Wayne Comets fan, absolutely diehard. But I was like, I'll give him a shot. I'll give him a shot. The first game I went to, it was versus the Comets, so obviously I rooted for the Comets.
Yeah.
And then I slowly went to more Fuel games, rooting for the Fuel. Saw that they had an internship, and I was like, I think I can do this. And then I remember being asked in my interview, like, will you be able to put your loyalties aside for the Fuel? And I was like, oh, absolutely, I got it. And now, like, I'm all in on the Fuel now. I do not care about the Comets. Like, I know they need to lose. Like, we need to win. Like, we're ahead in our division. Like, I'm really into it now, and it's super great, especially when the Comets won the Kelly Cup in 2021, and one of their alternate captains is Anthony Pedruzzelli, and he was with the Comets for like 5-6 years, one of my favorite players. And on Thanksgiving of last year, he got traded to the Fuel. I was absolutely crazy. I went so crazy. And now he's like, I talk to him and his wife all the time. Like, we have like a good relationship. I take 0.5s of him, like 0.5 photos. And he's become like obsessed with those. So it's just really great to like see my childhood players and like this kind of stage of like, oh, I'm working with you now. And it's like a working relationship, but it's also really fun. So yeah, getting into hockey has been like a long road to me. It hasn't really been consistent, but now I'm in it for the long haul, and I don't think I'm ever gonna give up hockey again. It's here to stay.
Absolutely not. Hockey's always here to stay.
Sip break.
Yep, absolutely. Otherwise, then I'll just like keep rambling and rambling and rambling, and then be like, "Oh my goodness, I did not breathe," which is why I co-host, because sometimes I'm like, I just need a moment to like physically inhale, and then it's 15 minutes later, and crusty old guy is still talking about David Robertson from the Dallas Stars. All right, what has been your favorite moment? Like, could be that's happened on the ice with the Indy Fuel this season that you've been able to watch, or behind the scenes this season?
I would say it's super hard. Obviously, one of my favorite moments is my first time broadcasting for the Indy Fuel. That just was a monumental day, both for me as like a broadcaster, but also for the Fuel. Like, being able to say I was the first female that did this was really just an incredible opportunity. And the dynamic of like, we have great, amazing fans, and they were very, very supportive of me going into the booth. Obviously, I got a couple hate comments, but they were really funny, and they like fueled me to keep doing more broadcasting. All the time, my favorite one. So the Indy Fuel has lots of interns. We have like 10 interns. And one comment was like, the Indy Fuel should stop having interns because they didn't want me broadcasting. Oh, it was so funny. Or it was like, this video is better on mute. I'm like, thank you. At least you're watching. At least you're watching. But now I've done like 4 games under my belt, and the fans are like, she's really growing on me. She's got some talent. I'm like, yeah, that's what we're going. That's what we're going here. But obviously, it's like, I love breaking this barrier, and it's a barrier that needs to be broken. And women in sports is like, I mean, they're everywhere, and often so overlooked. I mean, when you think of hockey, until now, it was a men's sport. Now you have the PWHL, which is absolutely iconic. and I love everything that they're doing, especially the jersey with the name on the back. Like, that's absolutely insane. And I think just my favorite moment, aside from broadcasting, has just been the growth that I've seen. Like,
Mhm.
I can't really tell you, but like the digital content team, three-fourths of it is women. And that's just like amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not just one moment. I mean, obviously broadcasting is always going to be like my number one moment,
Yeah.
but just the progression of women in sports has just really been important to me. And I've just loved seeing that this season. And there's also in the hockey realm and sports as a whole.
Love that. With your first moment broadcasting, was it something you kind of knew a while back? Like, we'd like to get you initially to this point, or was it, a week or two ahead of time? Like, hey, you're going to be broadcasting for this game.
They knew that I had broadcasting experience, and
Mhm.
so they were like, "Oh, like, would you ever be interested in this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd be interested in this." And then internally, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I know nothing of how to broadcast it, like, of how to, like, color a hockey game. I know how to commentate a hockey game from my perspective of, like, screaming at the refs, screaming at
Right.
the other team. Like, that's my kind of commentary." But then we on March 1st was our International Women's Night game, and
Mhm.
so they're like, "End goal, we want you to broadcast this game for International Women's Night." So I knew that I would say a month in advance that I knew I was going to do March 1st. But then February 22nd was our Pride Night. And then I was like, I would like to dip my toes in the pond,
Mhm.
not have my first night be International Women's Night. And so I was like, I'm going to broadcast then to just get my toes in the sand. So I kind of got to choose in that aspect. So between a month, I probably had about a week or so before knowing that I was going to broadcast.
Okay.
And so then after that, I was like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go. But I shadowed Andrew Smith, our wonderful play-by-play guy, um, once in the booth just for I think we had a random Thursday night game, and so there's nothing going on there. So I shouted him for the game, and I was able to be like, "Oh, like this is how long a usual stoppage of play is that I will have time to speak," or like this is how Andrew flows into the broadcast because he used to. It's actually a really fun fact. His my predecessor, so who I'm basically taking the position from, is Nick Olczyk, who's currently with the Seattle Kraken.
Yes.
Um, Absolutely a incredible guy. But he used to do color for a bit with Andrew before he got called up to the Chicago Blackhawks and then the Seattle Kraken. So obviously, I was like, these are giant shoes to fill. Like the old checks, that's like a huge deal. But I was able to talk to Andrew and kind of get his flow back because he hasn't been used to having someone in the booth with him
Right.
because Nick got called up. So just kind of finding that flow. It took us about 2 games, but the most recent game we did, it was like the flow was just it was there. It was very conversational. The way that I think a hockey broadcast should be. Like it should not just be like boom, 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 boom. Like you want a little conversation. You
Mhm.
want it to flow a little bit. And I mean, Andrew, he comes from a lot of experience. He's a teacher. He teaches economics and journalism. He also does broadcasting for his son's high school volleyball team and soccer and basketball. And he does baseball. He does all these sorts of things, but he really loves hockey. And so just being able to learn so much from him has just been so cool.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Um, okay, on the silly aspect, what's been your favorite moment?
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
just weird, wacky, silly behind the scenes.
So the Fuel took a trip to the Mad Ants game. They play at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, so they're the G League of the Indiana Pacers
Okay.
basketball. And so we took a couple of the guys to basketball game. So it was Darby Llewellyn, who I've had a lot of fun with him so far. We used to do like burning questions with Darby, and so like he would like go around with the mini mic, ask like players and fans like random questions. One time he asked like, "Who's your favorite player on the team?" And like he'd like ask the fan, and if the fan didn't say him, he'd be like, "Why not me?" Like, and it was super funny. He's a really funny guy. Him and his wife, like I've talked to them all the time. They're great people. And there's also Colin Bielik. He's also just a great guy. He graduated from West Point, and so after he's done playing hockey, he's going to go serve in the military, which is just
Wow.
super cool. And he's just an incredible guy to talk to. and then Anthony Petruzzelli, my Comets guy who came back, and his wife were also there. So 3 of us were there with the media team and some other front office field staff, and we went to this G League basketball game. We sat courtside. There was maybe like 200 people there at the game. We were screaming. We were going crazy. We were really building the energy. They came back from like a 20-point comeback, and they came and won the game. But I was taking Petruzzelli played. He tried to make 3 like shots against one of like a 6 foot like 7 G League NBA player, and he's like 5'7". So he was like trying to score a basket, and we're all just like having like a ball because he like couldn't obviously get past him. And then some of the guys played like ham, so like trying to shoot
Nice.
whatever, against another G League player, NBA player. And it was just really fun. Like, it was just a really good dynamic to see these guys off the ice, but then also just, you know, their funny selves. Also, another recent moment is we gave out like end of year social media awards.
Mhm.
And so they were like Silly Goose Award. They were like Sweet Treat Connoisseur and like things like that. And so we were like presenting them the award. They're like, for me, some of them gave a speech, and it was really funny. And then other ones were like, wait, did everyone get this? And we're like, no, just you. They're like, aw. We're like, aw, you guys are so sweet. We're like, yeah, of course, anytime. And so it's just been really funny just to like, these guys have really grown in social media because like obviously when you come like at the beginning of the season, like I remember media day, I was so scared because I did not know anyone's names. They didn't know me. And it was like a really rough relationship of like they didn't really want to answer my questions that I had because they thought that it was stupid, which I mean sometimes TikToks can be stupid, but
that's
they're really funny. That's like the whole point.
Yeah.
But then now they're like up to do anything. So especially when we were doing like basketball, I was like filming behind them, like trying to film a basket. And if they like made it, then they would like turn around and like give me like a press conference. So they would do like a post game debrief. They're like, I'm really proud of myself. Like I really did this for my team. They're like, I really worked hard here today. And so like they've just really grown in themselves. And it's just they're so funny. I mean, every single practice I go to, it's something new. They're hilarious guys.
Nice. Nice. Okay. So compared to other markets, I'd say Indy is definitely on like a smaller, like compared to Chicago and other like Midwest cities. Do you like working in like a smaller market and to have that sort of like close knit, like what's the right word? Like everyone there's just less competition in terms of like in Chicago, like yes, the Blackhawks were doing great, but we're still like the 4th team in the city. Whereas Indy, I would feel like the fuel would definitely be up significantly higher just because it is a little bit smaller. Do you like that aspect, or would you like to eventually jump to a larger city or larger market?
Obviously, I would say my goal is obviously to jump somewhere. Like, I love the fuel, would love to be there forever, but like I'm at like a crossroads in my career right now where I want to pursue news or pursue broadcasting in hockey, which I'm really leaning towards hockey. And if I pursue news, I would like to be on like Good Morning America, like the Today Show. So obviously the pinnacle of hockey is the show, like the NHL. Like I would love to be a broadcaster or a reporter for the NHL. That would be a dream.
I think you need to be on the NHL network.
Yes, I think that's what I need to do.
Correct.
It's the next step. But the Fuel actually are moving to Fishers, so we're getting a whole brand new arena, and we're also getting a new IFL team, so an indoor football league. So we're all moving to Fishers next season.
Okay.
And so it's a really interesting dynamic. I love the close-knit like community that we have. It's definitely like not less pressure, but it's more like you have more flexibility to kind of do what you want to do. Like, I feel like if I was in a bigger market and I was assigned a digital content intern, there's no way I would ever be broadcasting because the position is just not open, and that's just not what they need. They need digital content intern. And, you know, they probably have a list of all the digital content things they need done. For the Fuel, I walk into the office and I'm like, I have an idea for this, and this TikTok. And Leanne Strollo and Joe Zolo, who are my bosses, who are incredible. I haven't given them a shout out yet, but they honestly, they carry the media team. Like, they are insane. I love them so
I'm
much.
excited. I think Joe's interview is at the end of the week.
Oh my gosh, Joe, he is, you know, he's gonna say that he hosted a game for the Savannah Bananas. That's his fun fact. We tease him about it all the time, so you might need to include that in there. Be like, so I heard he hosted 2 games for the Savannah Bananas. Be like, yeah. So we tease him on that all the time. Like, whenever he meets someone new, we're like, did you know that Joe hosted 2 games? Anyways, I'm on a tangent, but Joe is like family to me now. So I mean, after you spend like a season with someone, they become like family. So like Leanne and Joe are like another set of parents to me. But anyways, giving that, I feel like I wouldn't have that connection with my bosses too if I was in like a different market. I feel like it would be like a very much like work relationship. But with them, like, I mean, I've done things like outside, like we had an education day, so it was a 10:30 a.m. game, and then we all went out after my birthday for my birthday because it was the day before. So we all went out to my birthday, and that's like, it was really fun. And then Joe also works with fantasy football, and so he took Leanne and I to the NFL Combine, and so like that is just a really fun relationship that I've had with my bosses that I don't think I would have anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And also same like with the players, like I don't think I would have had these like really fun connections or be able to be like, "Hey, can you stop real quick? Can I do this really fun TikTok with you?" And them to be like maybe not now. Like if I was like, I know obviously, the NHL, they have great TikToks. I love watching their TikToks, but they have to like really schedule it out and have to like really do thorough planning. I
Mm-hmm.
do it on a whim. I'm like, I'm on the bench going TikTok live right now during warm-ups so people can see hockey stretches. Like that's what I'm doing. And I don't think anyone in the NHL is doing it because that's just not their market. That's just not kind of the way that they work.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely love this smaller market feel, and moving to Fishers next year is going to be insane, especially a new arena. It's going to be kind of like an AHL type arena, bigger, holds 2,000 more people than we usually do, nicer suites, everything's all new. And like, that's super exciting because we're at the Indiana Farmers Coliseum, which was built in like the 20s, and it's not built for hockey. Like anyone who knows hockey knows that anyone who loves hockey knows that an arena has to be built for hockey and has to like have the sound, have like the seats, and have everything for hockey. And so I think that's what I'm also loving about like the small town is like the fans. You get closer with the fans. Like it's just it's so much fun. Like I love Fuel games. Like as much as I want to go to an NHL game now, I'm like, this is not a Fuel game. Like I'm standing right beside the glass. Like I would have to give up my arm and a leg to do that at an NHL game.
Oh, especially in Chicago.
In Chicago or in Toronto. Like I would have to give up my whole soul. Like I would definitely do that.
I think you would have to give up like many appendages to like even get standing room up in Toronto. Like look
Yes.
at those places. I'm like, how do they have
How?
people? And how do you want to sit up that high?
I know, but I didn't even mention this. I'm going to a convention in Las Vegas. I won this scholarship, so I'm going to Vegas on behalf of Butler to go attend this convention. So obviously, while I'm there, I'm going to a Knights game. But one of my kind of professors, he does digital content for Butler College of Communications. He used to work for the Minnesota Wild. And so he's trying to get me connections to be able to shadow someone because the Knights are playing the Wild that day. So it's just like that dynamic is like super cool as well. Like the Butler staff also like really wants you to like pursue your goals. He's a big Capitals guy. He grew up like 5 minutes away from the Capitals training center. So he learned to skate with some of the Capitals players at the time. He's a huge Ovechkin fan. And I like interviewed him for a class project and I told him to bring in props. He brought in like 7 jerseys, a pair of Capitals shoes, 20 hats, a Funko Pop. I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish I had this merch, but he probably could like get me in somewhere, but he's amazing. So hockey's all around me now. And Yeah, I know I kinda went off tangent a little bit, but
That's the point of a podcast.
that's the
It's
point of a
real tangent.
podcast. I know, and you'll probably go off tangent with Joe too, but probably talking about
About
Savannah
Savannah
Bananas.
Bananas, because now I'm really
Yes.
curious.
Oh my gosh, you have to ask him. Oh, also wait, ask him about his Joe overalls.
Okay. Joe overalls, Savannah
Savannah
Bananas.
Bananas. They kinda go hand in hand, so 2 birds, 1 stone. But yeah.
When's the convention?
The convention is April 12th through the 16th. So I do have to miss the last regular season Fuel home game,
Okay.
which is a little sad, but we're in a playoff position right now. So let's get to the playoffs. Let's have some extra hockey because I'm here for it. Who isn't?
We
Who
love
isn't?
extra hockey.
It's playoffs. It's like the best time of year.
It definitely, I would say first round, definitely one of my favorites when they're like 3 games and it's just back to back to back to back. And it's like, wow, I've watched hockey for like 6 hours and I never had a chance.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. I mean, except as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, like it's just the
Oh, yeah.
consistent first round exit. Like
What do
that's
you
just
think? What's your prediction? Because I was talking with one of my friends yesterday. She's a diehard Caps fan, so she's my liaison for the East Coast.
mhm.
What are your thoughts on Toronto come postseason for this year?
I mean, I love them and I want them to go so far. I want the cup. Obviously,
Right.
as a Maple Leafs fan, you
Who
kinda need
doesn't?
that. I mean, in my lifetime, I would really like to achieve that. But I really need Marner back. He needs to get back from his injury. I need him to get back on the ice. But the Panthers are just really doing well this year. No notes for them. I love their social media too, by the way. Their little like when they post the graphic on Twitter, they're like, "She's happy tonight." And it's like that drawing of that's so funny. I love that so much. But they're really eating up this year. And, you know, I would I wouldn't be mad if the Panthers won because they do deserve it. I mean, last year was a triumphant year for both the Knights and the Panthers. Um, Triumphant year for the Leafs. Made it past the first round, only to get swept. But you can't have everything. I mean, that's hockey. I mean, you think that you're in a really strong position, and then the next game, we have a 3-3 this weekend for the Fuel alone. So we had a game on Friday, game yesterday, game today, and we have a game on Wednesday.
Oh,
So it's really a killer week from hockey. And also, like the team in general, like last weekend they had 3 games and then the Tuesday game. So they've been playing like nonstop hockey, which definitely draining, but I love it. But in form of the Leafs, I would rather have the Fuel go far than the Leafs go far because at least I'm there, I'm
right.
present. But maybe when I get to the NHL and I get to the Toronto Maple Leafs, then they can have their run because I will be there.
They can't do it without you.
They can't do it without me. No,
You're the last piece.
it would be illegal for them. It would be a crime. So they have to wait. Sorry, Leafs fans, you have to wait until I make it to the show. So if anyone knows how to make that happen faster so the Leafs can get a cup,
Call
my
us up.
DMs are open.
Bring
Call us up.
to Toronto.
Bring Eva to Toronto. My passport's ready. I'll work there. I'll get a visa. It's fine.
There you go. I mean, most of them have super long contracts anyway, so they'll still be there.
I'll still be there. Like Nylander. His contract was insane.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember when that came out, and I'm like, "Are we all right? All right."
Yeah, I
Okay.
was at work and I was like, "Oh, so who's going? Who's going now? Because we don't have the funds for everyone."
No, it's everybody else. It's just gonna be the 4 guy. It's like just the core
Yeah,
4. That's
that's
it.
all.
That's all that they need.
No other guys on the ice. Don't need a goaltender. Don't need anyone else. Just that.
Mhm.
It's
It's
fine.
like Edmonton, but with a little bit more people. You only need 2 people on Edmonton, and then
Then you're fine.
everybody else.
You're all good.
Oh.
This has been so fun.
I'm glad. This is the point of the podcast. I mean, also to get more. We try to be an environment where like people that are new or don't know a ton about hockey can get into it. Halfly inspired by was it New Heights, the Kelsey podcast? I
Oh my gosh.
saw like
I'm
2 episodes and I was like,
obsessed.
and it was like all of like Swifties asking questions about football. And I'm like, wait, oh my God, I need to do this about hockey. This
Oh
is
my gosh. And as a Swiftie hockey person, this is absolutely like my dream. Like we have kids holding signs that say friendship bracelets for a puck. Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
oh, I have an entire bin of just friendship bracelets. Will I use them? Maybe. Will
Maybe.
I have the confidence to actually toss one over the ice at warm up? Never. But do I have them ready to go for truly the roster and the prospects? Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you ever come to a field game, 90% of the time the players will throw a puck over. Also, if there's food, like half the players, if they see food up against the glass, immediate puck goes over it.
I mean, they're hungry.
Oh my gosh. And so then we're like over on the bench and we're just like a horde of food and we're like, media team's taking some of this. Like we're taxing some of this. Like this is ours. And they forget about it by the end of the game.
Yeah.
They do a whole game, then they forget about it. And then one of them was like, where's my Reese's? We're like,
What Reese's?
what
Yeah, what?
Reese's? You didn't get any.
I think that was last game.
Yeah, it's like the powdered donut, like TikTok meme. Like, oh, I don't know what your Reese's are. Here's my hands.
I think my favorite this season was they were either in Calgary or Edmonton. One of them. And Nick Foligno swapped a puck for a bunch of like golf balls. I know nothing about golfing, so I had to ask crusty old guy, and I'm like, this seems weird. And he's like, no, those are like $20 golf balls, like per ball in a pack.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, all right, good on that kid. At least
Yeah,
now.
wow. Gosh, that's insane.
See, this is why we love tangents, because tangents basically take us to the end of the episode.
Absolutely. It's so fun. I love tangents.
Well, thank you so much, Eva, for joining us.
Yes, of course.
A closing reminder, once again, if you are going to a Blackhawk game, a Rockford game, if you're going to a Frozen Four game, if you're going to Indy Fuel in the playoffs, please wait for whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. The bathroom will still be there. The food will still be there. The beer will still be there. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Also, if you have any questions, comments, you want to be on an episode like Eva, if you want to be on one of our bonus episodes, make sure to send us a message on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Pick a social media platform and we're probably on it. That is all from us. And then we will talk at you guys next week.